My name is Kevin. I'm an office worker, but there's been a long-standing feud in my department. It's with my boss, Tom. Tom and I always seem to clash. Tom, I really think that approach is bound to fail. Let's plan this out properly. Tom's work is always sloppy, and it causes trouble for the other employees. Everyone is too scared to stand up to the fearsome boss, but I'm the only one who speaks out. Ah, shut it, Kevin. You're so annoying, Tom would say with an annoying sigh, often leading to a big argument. Today was no different, with Tom and I at odds again. What was unusual was that despite being lectured in front of the other employees, a humiliating situation, Tom kept smirking triumphantly. What's with that attitude? If you have a problem, just say it. Then Tom said, it's because of your attitude, that you're a failure as a husband. His smile was like that of a devil, as if he knew everything about my private life. Tom slyly covered his mouth and said, "Oops, can't say any more than that," before heading outside for a smoke. I couldn't stop thinking about what he said and immediately followed him. I have a wife named Emily, 2 years my junior, but our relationship hasn't been great lately. I called out to Tom, who was about to light a cigarette, and asked him what he meant by his words. Tom smirked, lit his cigarette, and after blowing out a cloud of smoke, he dropped a bombshell. Emily is going to remarry me. What? My hand trembled slightly. Tom said mockingly, "It doesn't matter to you anyway, right? You are planning to divorce her soon anyway, right?" It's true that things between Emily and me had been deteriorating. But I loved her. I had no intention of divorcing her. I wanted to work on mending our relationship. However, as if to dismiss my hopes, Tom said, "You're too full of yourself. That's why she's leaving you. Do you know what Emily says about you?" After tossing his cigarette butt into the ashtray, Tom whispered in my ear, "He's all talk, that's what she said." He then burst into laughter and said, "Your wife's the best," before heading back to the department. I was speechless and couldn't move for a while. I'm just a regular office worker, working for an ordinary company in New York, and my romance with Emily started at work. We were in the same group during our new employee training, which led us to get along and eventually start dating. We smoothly progressed to marriage. Emily was very responsible. She even took the lead in our training group, and I admired her work attitude. When we married, Emily wanted to keep working, but I wanted her to stay home and take care of the family. So I told her, I'll be the breadwinner, promising to provide for us. Then she said, if we have children, I want to fulfill my role as a mother, so I'm thinking of quitting my job. After that, she resigned from the company and became a full-time housewife. But actually, that might have been the point when she started to change. The biggest issue between us was that we didn't have any children. Emily began to stress out, constantly blaming herself, saying, "Why did I quit my job if we can have kids?" Whenever I tried to comfort her, she would push me away, yelling, "Don't touch me. You took my job away, and yet you just keep working on the same job. Bring home some promotion news for once." Her anger would escalate, leading us to have heated arguments. For over 6 months, Emily and I went through a rough patch, and during that time, she might have been secretly meeting with my boss, Tom. Apparently, she called me just all talk. Indeed, my manly promise of "I learn for us" meant nothing if I couldn't fulfill it. I remember Tom always favored Emily, and they might have kept in touch even after I married her. Seizing the opportunity as our relationship soured, they probably started an affair. I wanted to confront Emily about everything. However, when I got home, her belongings were gone. The affair was a fact, and now is thrust upon me. To have my wife taken by my nemesis boss was a humiliation beyond words. Nothing could have been more frustrating. Gradually, I couldn't stand working at the same company as Tom and decided to quit. It was one misfortune after another. "Why are you quitting, Kevin?" my colleagues would ask. I'd just smile and say, "I'm moving on to a new job." None of them knew about my divorce or her affair with the boss. I couldn't possibly tell the truth. Maybe I should have sued for the affair, but all I wanted was to escape to a place where I didn't have to see Tom's face. Perhaps there was also a sense of guilt for not making Emily happy. Being alone in the house made me feel even heavier. The absence of Emily made our two-bedroom apartment feel even larger. Though I told my colleagues I was getting a new job, I had no motivation or plans for job hunting and aimlessly wandering around. Suddenly, I found myself in the nightlife district. Maybe I should drink my sorrows away just for tonight. Standing in front of a bar that caught my eye, I resolved to drink until morning in a fit of despair and reached for the door. At that moment, I heard a woman's voice saying, "Oh, there you are. I've missed you so much." Startled, I turned around to see an unfamiliar woman, who then grabbed my arm and behaved as if we were a couple, leaving me in utter confusion. What?" The woman, still clinging to my arm, asked. "Where are we going tonight? Who is this woman?" However, I noticed her arm trembling slightly, and her smile seemed to mask fear. Something must be up. Thinking quickly, I played along. "Well, let's go to a place you like." When I said that, she slightly nodded and eagerly said, "Yay, follow me, please." I followed her lead. She took me to a nightclub. Standing in front of the club, she sighed in relief. "Thank you for going along with my story. I managed to get through thanks to you." The woman thanked me. Her name was Ashley, an alias she used at the club. I was invited by Ashley, "Please come with me," and guided me to a seat. Once seated, she explained why she pretended to know me. "I've actually been stalked by a customer who kept insisting on an after-party. He's this awful old guy who would touch my butt and stuff. I always refused because who knows what he might do if I went with him." "I see. So you clung to me, a random guy nearby, because you felt in danger." "That's right. It was just awful, but I was saved because you were there. I really like dependable men." Saying this, Ashley placed her hand on my thigh. Ashley was a very beautiful woman, and just that was enough to make my heart race. Having been called unreliable by Emily and essentially discarded, her words had rebuilt my shattered male pride. "Let's enjoy tonight," she said seductively with captivating eyes. Just then, a waiter came over and said, "Feel free to have a drink," offering us a menu. "Then I'll take you up on that offer." As I was about to take the menu, an unexpected situation unfolded. "Excuse me." A woman suddenly intervened. "Hey, what's up, Sarah? I don't need help." "Ashley, please stop doing this." The woman Ashley called Sarah glared at her intensely. Then, Ashley's demeanor changed abruptly. "What? Come with me." Sarah grabbed my arm and pulled me out of the club. As I was being dragged along, I couldn't help but think about how many times I was going to be grabbed by a woman today. "Should be safe here. Sorry, Kevin." No, it's okay. I'm used to being dragged around." "Wait, how do you know my name? Don't you recognize me?" she asked, turning to face me. "Wait, I've seen her somewhere before." After staring at her for a while, I suddenly exclaimed, Lily, is that you, Lily?" Lily was a junior from the company I had recently left. My impression of her was a very serious and quiet woman who barely wore makeup. But now, what about her? Her mascara was dramatically curled, and with bold cheek and lip makeup, she had completely transformed into a woman of the night. "You work here?" I asked, and Lily nodded. Sarah was her alias in the club. I knew the company allowed side jobs, but I never imagined she had this other side. "When I saw you come to the club, I was surprised, but since you left the company recently, I thought it wouldn't be a problem to talk to you. I didn't want to see a former senior getting tricked. What do you mean? That Ashley. She's been using some pretty nasty tactics to lure customers lately. Did she grab your arm and say I missed you? Making up a story about being stalked by another customer. Realizing she was right, I let out an involuntary yaw. Lily sighed as if troubled. Just as I thought. It seemed I had almost fallen for a kind of theatrical scam. What a spectacle. In front of a junior, no less. I'm so embarrassed. Thanks for the help, Lily. It's nothing really. The club had its eye on Ashley's behavior anyway. I'll report your case to the manager. That's a relief. Can I ask you something? What is it? Just curious, but why are you working at a place like this? I was surprised. But you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. I just wanted to drink until I pass out today. I feel lonely and wanted to hear someone's story. Feeling a bit pathetic for leaning on a junior, I braced myself and asked her. Lily seemed to ponder for a moment, then whispered, "It's Kevin, so I guess it would be fine." And then she said, "Okay, I understand," and began her story. Actually, I'm being forced to work at that club, almost like it's against my will. What? My mother is a bit of a mess. After she divorced my father, she went off the deep end, got involved in some weird religion, and racked up a huge debt. Now, I'm the one trying to pay it off. But, that's your mother's debt, not yours, right? Then Lily turned her face away. I've always done whatever my mother told me to. She demanded money, so I just followed her orders. Lily shared that she grew up enduring violence from her mentally unwell mother, which made it hard for her to defy her. I used to be a brighter girl, but ever since my mother changed, I've become shy and gloomy. I hate what I've become. She, who was always expressionless, distorted her face only when saying these last words. It must have been a very difficult life. A life bound by her mother. Watching her, I strangely felt the urge to help. Why don't you just run away from your mother? Lily looked at me with surprise in her eyes. But, I've tried to run away so many times, but I'm scared. Her presence is just. Her shoulders were trembling slightly. She might have been reliving unpleasant memories. I gently placed my hand on her shoulder. Then let me help you talk to your mother. Why would you go that far for me, Kevin? I shrugged and gave her a smile. I had divorced. You know about Emily, right? She was having an affair with Tom. A divorce, really? I said yes and tried to smile. But inside, I felt like crying. I ran away from that job. I had to escape. It's embarrassing and pathetic, but I ran and ran. I repeated the word ran and then said, I'm trying to grab onto the next happiness. I surprised myself. Just moments ago, I was in the depths of despair, but now I could say something so positive. It's okay to run from the past now. Next time, you just need to find happiness in the future. It felt like I was telling myself more than Lily. Right, I should also look forward. The reason I wanted to help Lily was that I saw her in the same brink of despair as I was. When I looked up, our eyes met. Lily, with a slightly apologetic expression, asked, "Will you really help me?" "I definitely will," I replied, and later arranged to meet with her mother. A few days later, I went to Lily's family home and met her mother. "Could you please let your daughter go? Let her be free." But her mother yelled, "Don't stick your nose into other people's family matters. Your daughter is an excellent worker, but if she keeps juggling a day job and a night job, she'll break down eventually. Are you okay with that?" I found myself shouting. Still, her mother refused to listen and threatened, "If you say another word, I'll call the police." But then, Lily, with tears welling up in her eyes, said, "Mom, please stop. I'm going to leave you, Mom." It seemed my words had given Lily the courage she needed. Despite her long-standing fear of her domineering mother, she now confronted her with all the frustration she had been holding back. It was an ordeal so terrible that I wondered if it was even appropriate for me, an outsider, to hear. The realization that her daughter was truly leaving must have struck her mother, who then pleaded, "Please, don't abandon me." But Lily's resolve didn't waver, and finally, she said goodbye, pulling my arm as we left the house. On the way home, Lily asked me, was this the right thing to do? It was good. Take some time away from her. You can meet her again later. For now, just take care of yourself. As I said this, Lily seemed to find some resolution and showed me a smile for the first time, saying, "You're right. Let me treat you to something as a thank you next time." Her smile seemed to soothe my troubled heart. I never knew Lily's smile could be so lovely. I found myself gazing at her for a long while. From that day on, our relationship changed from former colleagues to companions who had shared tough experiences. Later, Lily and I started dating. She became brighter and more beautiful, always sharing smiles with me. Then one day, I ran into the most unexpected persons. It was my ex-wife Emily and my former boss Tom. "Wow, what's this? Are you two together now? That's quite a surprise." Tom looked astonished, switching his gaze between me and Lily. Emily, on the other hand, awkwardly averted her eyes from me. My heart almost stopped upon encountering these two, the very source of my trauma. I braced myself for what they might say. But surprisingly, it was Lily who started talking. "Tom, have you found a new job yet?" It was too late by the time Tom responded, "Hey, wait." Emily turned to him, demanding, "What do you mean new job? That guy caused some problems at the workplace, so he's resigning at the end of this month as part of taking responsibility. So, good luck, Tom." Lily said this and then pulled my arm, saying let's go, as we walked past them. I could hear Emily and Tom's loud argument from far away, feeling a bit relieved. Lily grinned. That was a little payback for the two who hurt you. Her dependable smile made me smile too. With Lily, I felt I could find happiness again. This incident made me sure of her love for me. Actually, in my room, I already have an engagement ring that I've purchased. I'm secretly planning to give it to her in the near future. "Hey, were you in my class in high school, Eric?" I rushed into the hotel and bumped into her, someone who seemed to have been in my class. "Wait a sec, Eric. You're just a high school grad, right? Can you even support your wife on that? You sure you're okay?" She seemed to have no idea about my current situation and mocked me, a supposed customer. Honestly, I just wanted her to get on with her job since I was in a hurry. This hotel is a prestigious, upscale establishment frequented by the upper class. It's not really a place for high school grads like you. Grad or not, it doesn't matter. We have business at this hotel. Besides, it's not up to you to choose your guests. Well, it is. We do refuse service to low-class high school grads. It might be a once-in-a-lifetime splurge for you. Is that the manager's policy? Then my wife, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. She seemed even angrier than me, who had been ridiculed. "Yes, it's the manager's policy to refuse service to anyone less than a high school graduate." Little did she know, saying this would be the start of her downfall, as she said it with a smirk. "Please call the manager to the owner's suite right now." With that, she turned pale. "I'm Eric. A few years ago, I married my wife, Katie. And right now, we're in quite a pickle. We're lost, just the two of us. We came to this region for work, but being our first time here, we ended up getting lost. This is troubling." "You don't sound too troubled, but yeah, we're really in a bind. If we keep this up, we won't make it on time. We were supposed to get there right after leaving the station. Our destination is a famous, traditional upscale hotel in the area. At this rate, we won't make it on time for our appointment, just like my wife said." It's strange. Why can't we find it? My wife is frantically flipping through the map and searching on her cell phone. I look around too, but there don't seem to be any taxis. If I could find a landmark, maybe I could hail a cab with an app. Just as I thought that and took out my cell phone. I got it. The map was upside down. We were heading in the opposite direction. My wife exclaimed. Right, if we go the wrong way, we can never arrive. Shoot, were we both looking at the map upside down? Were we always this bad with directions? I've got no excuse. We were told it was a 10-minute walk from a major station, so we thought we'd find it easily, but it seems we're worse at directions than we thought. We exchanged a wry smile. Let's head back to the station. Yeah, we'd better take a taxi this time, so we don't get lost again. Sounds good. We smiled wryly and retraced our steps. Eric, let's play. Katie, what do you want to do? Katie and I, who live next door to each other, started out as childhood friends. Morning, Eric. Morning, Katie. Let's go to school, and wanna hit the variety store on the way back. Sure, your birthday is this month, too. Maybe I'll buy you something. That's sweet, but I was planning to get you a birthday present too. Then let's both buy gifts. Yay, that's true. Both of you, detours are fine, but be careful, okay? Sure thing. Got it, Jesse? We were the same age and even shared a birth month. We went to school together, played together, shopped together. Not just with our moms and dads, but even our grandparents were close friends since we were born. Welcome back, Katie, Eric. I'm home, Mom. I'm back, and both of you have some snacks at home today. Okay, visiting each other's houses was a regular thing for us. Dave, let's play. Sure, what should we do? Tag. Come on, let me play too. We would eat snacks prepared by each other's moms and play with each other's dads, thinking of them as our own parents. Happy New Year, Ronald, Marie. Yes, Happy New Year. Here's a New Year's gift for you too, Eric. Yay. Let's go to the New Year's church service together, both of you. Sure, let's do that. Yay, that sounds good. Of course, this included our grandparents. We called each other's family members by their first name. Katie, you're really absent-minded. Eric, you're pretty laid back too. Oh, that's right. I found Katie's favorite sweets at the convenience store and bought them, so let's eat them together later. Really? When did you go? Remember, I stopped by the convenience store on the way. Oh, that time. I bought a drink I thought you'd like from the vending machine then. Let's have it with the sweets. We thought of each other as our best understanding friends, and I couldn't imagine life without Katie. Eric and Katie have a similar vibe. Do you think so? I'm not sure. I can't really tell. That's right. Maybe it's because you're always together. But you two really do seem well matched. Yeah, I can't even picture you two apart. Growing up in similar environments, people often said we had the same air about us. Being together was just natural for us. Ever since we were little. It was like being part of an extended family living in different houses. That's why I couldn't imagine anyone but her standing next to me. Katie, what's up? This might be out of the blue, but I can't see myself with anyone but you. So, will you go out with me? Really? Of course, I will. Phew, I'm glad. I thought you would, but I was still nervous. Indeed, you even sounded shaky, which is rare for you. So, I guess it was natural for us to think about marriage when we reached the right age. Katie. Yes, I want to be with you forever. So, will you marry me? Haha, your voice is shaking again. Of course, I will. Well, I was admittedly nervous during the proposal and confession. But that's how it's been, Katie and I together since we were babies. Even now, as a great supporter in my work, I'm really grateful to Katie. Then we went back to the station and took a taxi. When I hurriedly explained our situation to the taxi driver, he couldn't help but laugh. Eventually, we arrived at our destination, the traditional upscale hotel. No good, Eric. We've only got 10 minutes left. Yikes, let's hurry to the check-in. Yes, let's do that. We rushed to the reception. I'm Eric. Sorry for being so last minute. Can we get some quick assistance? Eric, are you the Eric from my high school class? I looked up at the sound of her voice. It's me, Marissa. We went to the same high school. Apparently, she was a classmate. From her uniform and name tag, it looked like she worked at the hotel. Oh, Marissa. Yeah, I think I remember you from school. A long time no see. So, is this Katie? Are you two still together? Are you, like, married or something? Well, that's surprising. She seemed to know about Katie too. Well, that makes sense if she was a high school classmate. But Marissa's loud laughter drew everyone's attention in the lobby. Feeling extremely uncomfortable, we both frowned. It's not something to laugh about so loudly. Just do your job, please. Come on, a little laugh is fine. It's not okay, we're kind of in a hurry here. She didn't seem interested in proceeding with the check-in. Marissa narrowed her eyes mischievously. Wait, Eric, you're just a high school grad, right? Can you really support your wife on that? Are you sure you're okay? Hey, that's rude. It's fine, Katie. I stopped Katie from protesting against Marissa's mocking tone. You can't argue, can you? High school grads are what? Janitors at best. Oh, or maybe construction workers. Either way, dirty and smelly. Marissa continued her rant. And she is laughing crudely. This hotel is a prestigious, upscale establishment frequented by the upper class. It's not really a place for high school grads like you. Grad or not, it doesn't matter. We have business at this hotel. Besides, it's not up to you to choose your guests. Well, it is. We do refuse service to low-class high school grads. It might be a once-in-a-lifetime splurge for you. Marissa, ignoring everything I said, kept smirking and trying to drive us away. Is that the manager's policy? At that point, Katie, who I had asked to stay quiet, spoke up. Yes, it's the manager's policy to refuse service to anyone less than a high school graduate. Please leave. Marissa responded to her calm question with a mocking tone. I knew Katie well. I silently observed her reaction. Well, if you grovel and agree to do as I say from now on, maybe I won't turn you away. Marissa said this, still smirking as usual. Ha ha ha. Huh, why are you suddenly laughing? Have you lost your mind? Whoops. I instinctively put my hand to my forehead as Katie burst into laughter. Marissa looked at us, clearly confused. Haha, really? You say the funniest things. Katie has a habit of laughing when she's angry. What do you mean? It's the truth. Truth. Okay, I'll make sure you understand what you've done. Katie's laughter suddenly stopped and she turned serious, causing Marissa to blurt out in a panic. Then Katie said coldly, "Oh, hello, this is Katie." Ignoring a flustered Marissa, Katie took out her cell phone and made a call. "Please ask the manager to come to the owner's suite right now. I'll be there shortly too." "Oh, manager, owner's suite." Marissa looked at Katie with a puzzled expression. "I guess I'm late in introducing myself. I'm Katie, the owner of this hotel. Nice to meet you." Katie smiled beautifully at Marissa. In fact, Katie's family owns a multitude of real estate properties and is a wealthy family. Even after marrying me, Katie helped with her family's business. Eventually, Katie became the owner of several hotels. Eric, The hotel we're going to is this one, right? Yay, that's right. Perfect. Perfect. My father recently entrusted me with another hotel as the owner, and it's this one. It's a good opportunity to do an inspection. Our visit was initially due to my work, but we planned to conduct a surprise inspection. Then we were led to the owner's suite. I'm terribly sorry for what happened. In the owner's suite, several men in suits and Marissa were apologizing. I heard about Marissa's rude behavior. I'm truly sorry. Among them was the manager, Ted. Ted, is it true that your policy is to refuse guests who are high school graduates or less? If it is, how exactly were you planning to check that? Katie questioned Ted sharply. What? No, that can't be. Who said such a thing? That's not my intention at all. Ted was clearly shocked and flustered. Marissa, standing beside him, looked down with a pale face. Are you letting the front desk staff decide who gets to stay? No, that's absolutely not the case. But she definitely said that. You do realize the front desk is the first point of contact with our guests, right? Of course, I understand. You don't seem to understand. If this is how her staff behaves, it reflects poorly on the hotel. And as the manager, it's your responsibility to hire and train staff who don't cause discomfort to our guests. What do you think about that as a hotel staff member? I apologize. Katie lectured a pale-faced Ted. Ted seemed to have no choice but to keep apologizing. Katie, that's enough. Stay out of this. I tried to calm her down, but ended up getting scolded myself. My interjection seemed to finally bring Ted's attention to my presence. Seeing me, he showed a look of surprise. Oh, you aren't you Mr. Wilson? And then, hurriedly approaching me. This caused Marissa, who had been looking down, to raise her head. The press conference is about to start. That reminder brought back to mind the reason we came to this hotel. Oh, shoot. I glanced at my watch and muttered. I was so captivated by Katie's fury that I had completely forgotten. I was supposed to attend a press conference being held at this hotel. I'm a professional chess player. I turned professional in high school and have been accumulating victories ever since, and now I was about to challenge for the title of master. Today was the day of the press conference. The matches are starting tomorrow. Oh no, if the hotel's situation prevents Mr. Wilson from attending the press conference, who knows what the media will write. We need to hurry and escort him to the venue right away. Ted and the others started panicking. We're not done talking yet. Just one person. Escort Eric to the venue. The rest of you, shall we have a nice long chat? Katie said this with a frighteningly beautiful smile. Yes, you there. Please show the way. Yes. Make sure you come back after showing him. Yes, ma'am. I was escorted out of the owner's suite by the chosen staff member. I headed for the venue, cheering in my heart. Hang in there, staff member. Eventually, I managed to arrive at the venue. The staff member who escorted me returned with teary eyes. Watching him go, I entered the venue where my opponent for this match, the esteemed Master Smith, was already glaring at me. Master Smith, a prominent figure in the chess world, holds the master title. He's also my mentor and the person I aspire to. I was looking forward to challenging him this time. Master Smith, who had been glaring, suddenly relaxed his expression. Eric, late again, he said with a laugh, and I smiled back. I was looking at the map upside down with my wife. Haha, you two are as clueless as ever. Embarrassed by my mentor's laughter, I scratched my head. Katie had also learned chess from Master Smith in the past. But she quit saying, "It's not fun because I always lose to Eric." Are you Eric? Yes, that's me. I'm an acquaintance of Pete. How about trying chess? Go, yeah, I'll give it a shot. Originally, Master Smith became my mentor through his old connection with Pete. You two still get along so well. Really? What a great mentor-mentee relationship. This match has caught the chess world's attention as a battle between mentor and mentee, hasn't it? The clash of similar minds. It's going to be exciting. The fact that Master Smith and I have a mentor-mentee relationship was well known, and the press conference proceeded in a relaxed manner. Fortunately, it ended successfully. Phew, glad that's over with. Haha, you're still so laid back, aren't you? Is that so? Master Smith said this while looking at me. But when it comes to the match, you transform into someone else. He sighed, saying this. I don't really understand it myself. Katie is the same, right? Master Smith said, somewhat exasperated, as I chuckled. Indeed, when it comes to business, Katie becomes a strict businesswoman. Normally more absent-minded than me, but as an owner like earlier, she has a stern side. Especially when she's angry. I imagine Katie is still giving someone a lecture right now. She was scary earlier, but also incredibly cool. During chess matches, your gaze sharpens and you demonstrate incredible concentration. Your style of chess is aggressive, always on the offensive. Well, I do often get that kind of feedback. That fluffy personality of yours comes up with moves that are unexpectedly tricky, honestly making it difficult to play against you. Master Smith, my mentor, commented like this. But has he forgotten? It was none other than Master Smith who taught me this style of chess. My chess playing style is basically what I learned from him. I'm looking forward to tomorrow, he said, extending his hand. Yes, me too. I took his hand and shook it firmly. We exchanged a solid handshake. The Master title matches are a best-of-7 series, touring hotels and inns nationwide. Each match lasts 8 hours, spanning over 2 days. Media like the sponsoring newspapers gather, but despite being professional matches, they generally don't attract much public attention. That's probably why Marissa didn't know I was a professional chess player. Since I was young, I was acknowledged by my mentor, Master Smith, for having a good sense for the game and received his guidance. Pete was right. You have a good sense, Eric. Would you become my official disciple? Will that make me better? Yes, with your potential, you'll improve rapidly. I thought so. Eric would definitely become John's favorite, Pete had said. It was a connection made through him. I improved quickly, but it took several attempts before passing the professional exams in middle and high school. I attended local public schools and was so absorbed in chess that my academic and sports performance were mediocre. I guess I was a rather unnoticeable student. I used to target you for bullying because you were so unimpressive back then. Really? Eric, you're so natural. Maybe you didn't even notice the bullying because of that. When I reunited with Katie, Marissa was also there. Hey, you, the gloomy one. You're dark but can't even study well. What's that about? What, you guys? Eric isn't so free to bother with you. Huh? Thinking back, there was indeed a group that often bothered me. But truly, at that time, I was only concerned with chess and the support I received from Katie, so I didn't notice it at all. It was most annoyed that you ignored us. I wasn't ignoring them on purpose. They were simply not on my radar. According to Marissa's story. Hey, I heard Eric hasn't decided on his future path yet. Really? Even though he's a senior? Almost everyone's going to college and have secured a place. Eric is just different, right? In high school, where most students were focused on advancing to college, my undecided path seemed out of place. Katie, listen. I finally passed a pro exam. Really? That's great. You've been working hard, Eric. Yes, and there's something else I want to tell you. Meanwhile, I passed the pro exam in my senior year of high school. I became a professional chess player, But most of my classmates were unaware of this fact and remembered only that I didn't pursue further studies. It makes sense they didn't know, as I didn't really tell anyone but Katie. By the way, it was around that time that I confessed to Katie and we officially started dating. I wanted to apologize, and I'm sorry, but can we stop this now? I have an important match coming up. Please don't involve me in this. I see. Marissa, I'm ordering you to undergo retraining. Also, you are to be under suspension for a while. Make sure you don't show your face around us. Understood. It seemed like Marissa had backed down for the moment, though it was as if none of this had happened. The next day, after the first day of the match ended and I was about to return to my room, the next move should be, no, that would be counted. Then maybe, Eric. Marissa. On my way, I ran into Marissa, who was supposed to be under suspension. I really wanted to apologize. Maybe we could go for dinner later. I'm busy right now. Just leave me alone. I replied casually, my mind completely occupied with chess. Master Smith is indeed strong. I need to focus for tomorrow's match. I didn't know you were a professional chess player. Is the Master Tournament a big deal? You're amazing, Eric. I always knew you were different from others. I've actually liked you since we were young, you know. That's why I was mean to you back then. Hey, are you even listening to me? Hello. When I was distracted by thoughts of chess, Marissa grabbed my arm. Could you let go, please? Stop it. Katie intervened. She made Marissa let go of my arm, stepping between me and Marissa. Oh, Marissa seemed momentarily intimidated by Katie's presence. Don't interfere, she quickly snapped back in anger. You're the one interfering. This is an important time. Weren't you supposed to be under suspension? Weren't you told not to show your face? Can you understand that? That doesn't matter. Besides, professional chess players earn a lot, right? You're just after his money, aren't you? Katie clearly looked exasperated by Marissa's provocation. Are you serious? I am the owner here. I earn my own money. Katie said this emphatically and deliberately to Marissa. Then give him up to me. What? Both Katie and I involuntarily expressed our confusion at her incomprehensible words. Absolutely not. What do you even like about Eric? How many things can you list? Well, I've been watching Eric since we were little. I love everything about him, the good and the bad. Even if he becomes penniless, bald, or fat in the future, no matter what happens, I will always love him. Marissa sounded slightly taken aback by Katie's intense declaration. Meanwhile, I felt my whole body warming up. Katie, I'm happy, but that's embarrassing, you know. My face was probably beet red at that moment. Cough. I have an important wife, so I can't even think of being with someone else. I've only ever thought of Katie. I can't imagine anyone but her by my side. She is the only one for me. No matter what happens in the future, I'll always love only her. Hey, you too. I said this, looking straight at Marissa. Stupid couple. Perfect for each other, you idiots. Marissa threw out these words and stormed off. Left alone, all we could do was laugh together with our faces still red. Shall we head to our room then? Yeah. The first match of the Master Tournament ended with Master Smith's victory. Honestly, it was very frustrating. But it's not over yet. With that thought, I switched my mindset. Mr. Wilson, I'm truly sorry for what happened. At checkout, Manager Ted came to see us off. He apologized deeply once again. Marissa resigned from her job today. Oh, I only asked for her suspension, not for her to be fired. It was her own decision. According to Ted, that stupid couple, I can never win against Katie. I just want to forget everything. Please let me resign. Marissa had said. Listen, the quality of the employees is determined by your management as the manager. make sure you properly re-educate your staff." "Yes, ma'am," Katie firmly reminded Ted with a slightly intimidating smile. "I'll come for an inspection again soon." With those words from Katie, we set off on our way home. Quite an eventful trip, huh? I reflected on the trip. I never expected to be involved in such trouble the day before the match. It was quite intense, I chuckled to myself. However, I got to see my wife acting cool as a business owner. And heard words of love too. It was a worthwhile trip. Now, I need to win the next match and show my best. A week later. "Good job." "Ah, thank you." I had just finished the Master Tournament. Thanks to being able to focus well after the match with Master Smith, I think I performed quite well. "Tomorrow, our parents want to celebrate for you." "Really? It's going to be a big gathering again, huh?" "Haha, yes. Both our dads took time off work just to watch the Master Tournament and got scolded by our moms." "Haha, I can imagine. I bet they're eagerly waiting for us to come back now." "Maybe." We both laughed, thinking about our parents. "How about we go on a trip after things settle down?" "Oh, that sounds good." Actually, I was planning to visit that hotel again for an inspection. Last time was for me, so next time I'll adjust to your schedule. "Thank you." And by the way, I was really happy about those words of love you said then. "Oh, stop, I was happy too, about the words you said that time." We both turned red again. Even though we've been together for so long, this is something we just can't get used to. It's really scary how both the owner and her father are so intimidating. Was Pete also a scary person? "Jess, I've been patronizing this hotel since her father's time. He was kind too, but very strict about business. I saw a glimpse of her father in her that time." "Just like Pete, huh? You also become like that during chess matches." "It's something I often hear. Well, for me, Pete is like another dad." "Is that so? Eric, what are you talking about with Ted?" "Just discussing things about you and Pete." "I see." By the way, Marissa apparently had a tough time after leaving that hotel. She couldn't find employment at other hotels because the rumors had spread. In addition to that, she approached various men who seemed to have good incomes, only to be shunned, and ultimately got deceived by a bad man, ending up in debt. Now, she's struggling with a busy life, juggling jobs she once looked down upon, like cleaning and construction work. After a while, a former classmate told me about Marissa's situation. Eventually, she reached out to her old classmates for help and then disappeared from sight. "Katie." "What? Please stay with me forever." "Of course, even after we become grandparents, we'll always be together." We held each other's hands and made a promise for the future. A few years later, we became parents to 2 children. Our son has been studying hard since he was little, intending to take over Katie's role, and our daughter is fascinated by chess, saying she wants to become a player and play against me. Master Smith is also enthusiastically teaching her, hoping she'll surpass me. Watching them, Katie and I smiled at each other. "I've received so much support from you. Thank you, Katie, truly." "I should be the one thanking you, Eric. Seeing you work hard made me want to do my best too. I'm so glad to have you." "Oh, me too. I'm really glad to have you. I've loved you in the past, now, and will continue to do so in the future." "Me too." Mom and Dad are being lovey-dovey again. Teased by our children, we both turned red. "You both will definitely find someone you'll want to be with forever. Support each other and stay close." "Okay, I want to continue being close to my dear Katie." "Of course, together with our children." "Man, I'm beat today. Yawn." In the crowded train during the morning rush hour, I let out a big yawn. Right now, I'm working at a bar until the wee hours of the morning. Until last month, I was working as a salesperson at a food manufacturing company. I worked diligently for 20 years. I was a veteran employee. In my job, I had a good client base and my sales performance wasn't bad. In the past, I even won a CEO's award and was promoted year after year. The shadow cast over my otherwise smooth sailing career began with an incident this spring. It all started when our parent company was caught cutting corners in the product manufacturing process, creating a big scandal. My company, caught in the fallout, cites financial situation worsened. Higher-paid managers were encouraged to take early retirement, and I ended up being indirectly laid off in a roundabout way. The severance pay was meager, and unemployment benefits alone weren't enough to cover living expenses. I didn't have kids, so there was no child support to worry about, but I was paying for not only the house and car loans but also the care expenses for my dad, who was ill and in a facility. I needed to find a job as soon as possible. Any job would do, as long as it provided a stable income. The day after I was told about the layoff, I heard that a longtime employee had quit the bar I always visited after work, so I immediately asked for a job. Working nights came with a decent pay bump. I started working at the bar right after leaving the company. Working late hours is pretty tough, but I've gotten used to it. Tired from work, I rang my home's doorbell. Usually, my wife, Linda, would open the door right away, but this time she didn't come out. "What's going on?" I used my key to open the door. "I'm home." Linda was sitting at the dining table chair. Despite it being morning, the curtains were still drawn, and the room was pitch dark. Sensing the bizarre situation, I called out to her while looking at her back. "Hey, is something wrong?" Then she turned around to face me. "Please, let's get a divorce." She muttered just that and bowed her head. What's going on all of a sudden? I've fallen for someone else, that's why. No matter how much I asked for a reason, she insisted on getting a divorce because she had fallen for someone else. I couldn't comprehend what had happened so suddenly, and I was at a loss for words. Linda and I had been married for 4 years. We were originally from the same hometown and high school classmates, reuniting at a class reunion. Both of us had moved to the city and found out we worked nearby, so we started going out for meals after work. Our relationship quickly developed, and it didn't take long before we decided to get married. After getting married, I didn't want to overburden her, so I asked her to quit her job and become a housewife. Since we married later in life, we hadn't planned on having kids. Linda had worked to her limits and didn't seem to have the energy for child-rearing. We always talked things through and shared our feelings, and I was content thinking we were a happy couple. But that was all my assumption. Who was this person she had fallen for? Since when had she been interested in this person? Or were they already close? I had a ton of questions I wanted to ask. "Just give me some time alone, please." In the silent room, I reflected on what my wife had told me. I didn't think I was such a terrible husband to be handed a divorce. I wasn't a drinker, nor did I gamble. I didn't have a history of messing around with other women. I thought I had always been kind to my wife. Thought I had. Since we got married, I had always been busy with work, coming home late every day, and spending weekend just sleeping due to exhaustion, hardly ever finding time to talk. Then I got laid off and started working nights. It had been a long time since we last enjoyed time together. Maybe my wife felt lonely being alone. We never even had time to talk about it. It wouldn't be strange if she found someone else who had what I lacked, something that made her unhappy. It was the result of my failure to make her happy. I suppressed my desire to cling to her and decided to accept the divorce. After that, she packed her things and left immediately, and I was left to live alone. "Another day well done," she would say with a smile every day. The days I took for granted now seem like a dream. Since then, I threw myself into work every day to forget her. The bar job was harder than I thought. The business hours were from evening till 5 a.m. Open 365 days a year, no days off. Besides the regular operations, there was a lot to do: making sales reports, training and cooking, submitting reports, attending meetings. There were days I had training from 9 a.m. after finishing work at 5 a.m. I hardly had any time to sleep. But the quietness of a home without my wife was unbearable, so the tough routine was just what I needed. I was totally engrossed in my work. "Max, this month our store's sales are in the top 5 nationwide," my colleague said. "Oh, is that so? Sales reflect customer satisfaction. It means we've really made them happy," I replied. "Yes, indeed. We've been getting a lot of praise from customers lately. Just the other day, I gave a customer some soda water to clean a sauce bowl on their clothes. It worked perfectly, and they were so pleased that they sent a thank you email to our store. Your trick really worked wonders," my colleague shared. "That's great to hear," I said. I was recognized for my achievements and became the manager, working harder than ever. Then it happened. One morning, when I tried to get up, I found I couldn't stand. Suddenly, I was like a puppet with its strings cut, unable to move. After a while, I could slowly get up and managed to call a taxi to rush to the hospital. The doctor advised several months of rest. I was in a state of extreme exhaustion. Lying at home, I would see visions of my wife. "Are you okay? I've made some soup," she'd say. But she's not here anymore. Let me forget. Unable to bear being alone, I decided to visit my mom's house in the countryside when I could move a bit. My parents' home was originally a vegetable farm, now just my mom managing it modestly, selling produce in the town market. My dad had fallen ill a few years ago and had been in and out of the hospital. The scenery of my childhood home, where I lived until high school, was as tranquil as if time had stopped. It's been a while, returning home after so many years. My mom was still energetic as always. "You got laid off, then suddenly started working all night, and now a divorce. You're just worn out, both physically and mentally. You should rest up here for a while," she said. "Yeah, I will," I agreed. At home, I ate the fresh vegetables my mom grew and just slept, leading a simple life. The clear air in the countryside and delicious vegetables seemed to be healing my tired body and soul. After a while, feeling much better and energized, I went to the town supermarket. I had been relying on my mom for so long, I decided to cook for her, so I went shopping. Holding a shopping basket full of items, I lined up at the checkout and couldn't believe my eyes. Linda, my ex-wife, was working the cash register. What was Linda doing here? Her hair was longer and she looked thinner, but it was unmistakably Linda. I changed lines to avoid being seen and quickly paid, then went to sit in my car to think about what had just happened. Why is Linda here? Had she returned to her hometown? What happened to the person she said she loved? My mind was in chaos, in a state of panic. I couldn't just let this go. Eventually, I parked my car next to the employee entrance of the supermarket and decided to wait for her to come out and talk to her. Calling her wouldn't make her come out, and I couldn't just show up at her family's home. This store was closing in another 2 hours. I thought waiting and talking to her directly was the best option. Then, Linda passed by, pulling her bicycle. "Linda!" I shouted, jumping out of the car. Linda looked shocked, her eyes wide open. Max, what are you doing here? She asked, looking down, tears welling up in her eyes. What am I doing? What about you? She seemed restless as she spoke. Do you have time tomorrow? I'll email you. Okay, I'll wait for your message. Then, see you tomorrow. With those words, she got on her bicycle and left. On my way home, I received an email from her, saying to meet at a cafe near the train station, at noon tomorrow. I spent a sleepless night and headed to the meeting place with my mind in a haze. As I opened the door at the cafe, Linda was already there. She looked tired, with swollen eyelids, maybe from a sleepless night too. I sat down in front of her and ordered a coffee, then quickly drank some water. My heart was pounding, seeing her after such a long time. There were so many things I wanted to ask, but I didn't know where to start. Linda was looking down all the time. There was a long silence. She was the first to break it. I'm sorry. I couldn't find the words to reply. Have you been well? That was all I could muster. Then she suddenly covered her face with both hands and started crying. How can I be okay? I had to leave you, whom I wanted to be with. What are you talking about? You said you fell for someone else and wanted a divorce. I asked, confused, looking at her crying. Then she started to reveal something shocking. I never told you, but I have a 3-year-old daughter from my previous marriage. My ex-husband started to believe I was cheating on him, got furious, and demanded a divorce unilaterally. No matter how much I denied it, he wouldn't believe me, and the verbal abuse and fights just increased. I couldn't take it anymore and agreed to the divorce. Of course, I wasn't allowed to see my daughter afterward. Then, out of the blue, I got a call. He was living with his mother, who was taking care of our daughter, but she passed away, and he got ill and said he couldn't take care of her anymore. I couldn't leave my child with him, but I also couldn't bring her to our home. So I thought the only option was to divorce you and go back to my hometown to take care of her. Tears kept falling from her eyes. I've been struggling every day, wondering what to do. I couldn't bother you with my problems, but I didn't want to leave you. There hasn't been a day I hadn't thought of you. It's my fault. I had something so important and got married. That's terrible. She said in a weak voice, crying aloud. I knew she had been divorced, but I didn't know about the child. I wished she hadn't kept it a secret, but knowing she had suffered alone all this time filled me with an overwhelming sense of heartache. I'm sorry too, Linda. I was so wrapped up in my own issues that I didn't listen to your problems. Whether you have a child or not, my love for you doesn't change. I grasped her hand, holding a handkerchief, firmly with both of mine. Dad, I've brought some vegetables with Grandma. Serve these pickles at the restaurant too, she said. Oh, thanks. These cucumbers are really good, I replied. After that, I quit the bar I was working at, sold my house, and came back to my family home. Now, I'm living here with Linda and her child. Somehow, I've started being called Dad by her daughter, and it makes me feel a bit shy every time. Then, I opened a small bar in our town. The restaurant is famous for its healthy menu made with vegetables grown by my mom and is bustling with customers every day. Honey, oh, Max, should we also serve this onion? She asked. Yeah, it's made with good fertilizer. Tastes great, I said. That's true. Linda is helping out at the restaurant too. My dad, who had been hospitalized, is now out of the hospital and comes to the restaurant for his rehabilitation. A few years ago, I never would have imagined returning to my hometown, opening a bar, living with my parents, Linda, and her child. There were many tough times, but they made me realize how happy I am now. Looking at everyone in the restaurant, I felt energized. All right, let's do our best today. I've delivered your package. I'm John Anderson, 32 years old. I worked for a logistics company in New York, delivering office products for businesses. But due to the recession, our client companies struggled financially, and it impacted our company too. Eventually, the company owner, Morgan, who was already elderly, made the tough decision to shut down the business. And I, as an employee, faced the unfortunate situation of losing my job while still young. I was very fortunate that I managed to get a job at a bigger logistics company. There was even an opening at their branch in my hometown. Around the same time, my father fell and was hospitalized. Thinking about my mother's burden and being an only child, I had been wondering if my returning home was the best choice for my family. I ended up accepting the position at their branch with this new company, and that gave me an opportunity to start a new life in my hometown. In early October, when it began to get colder, I moved back to my hometown with loads of luggage. My new company was a major firm, a famous enterprise with many branches. It was quite a change for me as the company I previously worked for in New York was a lot smaller one with only 100 employees. The night before my first day at work, I got so nervous I couldn't sleep. Then came the first day with the new company. During the morning assembly, Edward, the branch manager, briefly introduced me to everyone at present and also asked me to say a few words. Nervously, I stood in front of everyone. "Good morning. My name is John, and I have joined the company as a mid-career employee, effective October 15. I hope to become a valuable member of the team as soon as possible." But then, I froze when I saw something. To my surprise, among the employees was my former classmate, David Smith. I was momentarily shaken. However, I managed to keep a smile and to finish my speech. "I'll do my best to become a valuable member as soon as possible, and I am looking forward to working with you." As I was about to leave after my speech, I had a quick glance at him. David gave me a sly smile. It sent a chill down my spine, and I had to leave the room in a hurry. David Smith, the man I struggled to deal with in my entire life. He excelled in both sports and academics, graduated from a prestigious university, and stood out in our hometown. In contrast, I was a plain guy whose only trait was being diligent. We weren't exactly enemies in school, though. Despite our differences, we were teammates in the basketball club, sharing both tears and laughter. After practice, my house became the hangout spot, and David would often come over. When he stayed late, my mom would even cook meals for him. But things changed a few years ago when we had a basketball team reunion. David, drunk, started bragging about his education and income. At first, everyone listened to him with a smile, but the atmosphere started to grow tense after a while. Unable to bear it, I finally said, "David, let's change the topic." I tried to sound as cheerful as I could, not wanting to hurt his feelings, but David looked deeply annoyed. "I've always disliked your self-righteous attitude," he said. "And you, a high school graduate, dare to direct me, a university graduate? That's absurd. Don't order me around ever again." His tirade against me lasted 10 minutes, and everyone else left as they were unable to stand it. Since then, I completely avoided him, and I even stopped attending reunions. And now, I had to work with the very person responsible for that trouble. Back home, I vented to my mom. I ended up becoming colleagues with David at my new job. "Why did it have to be him?" My mom replied, "David. He used to come over to our house a lot, didn't he?" I remember his mom bragging about him. She was telling us he worked for a big company and that he was sure to climb the corporate ladder. "Looks like you're doing the same too. Besides, you don't choose your job based on who you like or dislike, right?" Despite her advice, I couldn't help feeling down. And my bad feeling turned out to be true. As expected, David started behaving mockingly towards me at work, based on the fact that I only graduated high school and that I lost my job in New York. He would whisper to me when no one else could hear, "Starting over at this age. We're not fresh recruits, you know." I glared back at him in frustration, but he just walked away as if nothing had happened. Another time, he sat next to me in the cafeteria with a colleague. After gaining experience here, I'm going to be transferred to another branch and climb up the career ladder. He boasted loudly, making sure I could hear him. I couldn't stand his insincerity and left my seat. And when I was nervous doing my first tasks, in front of other employees, he taunted, "Can't you even do that? Oh, right, you used to work only at a small company, where you never had to do such advanced work. High school grads are slow learners." He seemed to enjoy spreading the fact that I only had a high school diploma. Gradually, I started to dread going to work. But with my inherent persistence and seriousness, I clung desperately to my seniors so as to learn the job. I struggled initially with unfamiliar tools and systems and needed to be taught by my seniors. Of course, there were also many tasks I had to learn from David. So, no matter how unreasonable he was to me, I never lost my temper in front of him. Fortunately, since I was in the same industry as my previous job, I understood most of the work and learned very quickly. Enduring David's sarcasm, I gradually got used to the job and was able to handle most tasks within a few months. 6 months had passed since I started working for the company. A trouble occurred. A whole truckload worth of packages wasn't handed over to the driver, and we couldn't deliver hundreds of items that day. We received complaint calls all day, and we spent the entire day dealing with them. Edward and other superiors were furious. They were wondering who made such a mistake. That was when I found a note near the phone. November 3, Truck 3, please arrange driver. From the office, David. The scribbled note was clearly in David's handwriting. Probably he took the note but forgot to arrange the driver. I hesitated for a few seconds, but came to the conclusion the most important thing was to review internally while we inconvenienced our customers. I couldn't let personal feelings for David obscure the truth. I handed the note to Peter, our manager. This might be the cause. I whispered to him so no one else could hear. Then I went back to my desk as if nothing happened. Later, he went to Edward's office to report what the cause was for the catastrophe, and David was called into the office. Although it pained me to see him in trouble, I focused on my work. A while later, David, red-faced, came to my desk. "Come to the meeting area later. I have something to talk about, okay?" he said menacingly, then stomped back to his seat. His attitude made it obvious to everyone in the office who was responsible for the mistake. I knew he was probably just going to lash out at me in his frustration. I had no confidence in facing his tirade face to face. But at the same time, I wanted to know why he disliked me so much. If someone else had reported it, he wouldn't have been this angry. Slowly, I headed to the meeting area, where David was waiting, clearly irritated. As soon as I arrived, he exploded. "What was that about earlier? Reporting my note to Peter. Is this your revenge for how I've treated you? Are you happy to embarrass me, a college grad, in front of everyone, you high school grad?" He ranted incoherently, raising his voice in anger. But I didn't stay silent this time. I was just following up on the cause of a mistake, and I would have reported it no matter who was involved. We may have been classmates, but now we're colleagues doing the same job. Instead of verbally attacking me all the time, why don't you grow up a little? I retorted, and David's face turned even redder, as if he was about to jump at me. If either of us made a move, it could escalate into a fight. Just as I was thinking this, we were interrupted. "David, isn't it about time you stopped this nonsense? You are terribly wrong." A voice suddenly came from behind me, admonishing David. David, standing in front of me, was utterly surprised, his eyes wide open at the sight of the person speaking. I cautiously turned around and, to my surprise, saw no one but Richard, the president of our company, standing right there. David managed to utter, with great effort, "Richard, Why are you here? The sudden visit by Richard caused a stir in the office. And the usually calm Richard spoke sternly, silencing the office instantly. Yes, it was rare for Richard to visit our branch for inspection. David, who was intimidating me, turned pale upon being overheard by Richard. Richard called us to the conference room. We knocked on the conference room door in silence. We were anxious about what he would say. Entering the room timidly, we found Richard had prepared lots of snacks and coffee for us. He warmly welcomed us when he started speaking in a relaxed tone. I believe, for a company, the most needed talent is someone who can earn people's trust. It's easy to know someone's educational background, but it takes a long time to understand if they are truly trustworthy. With that, he smiled warmly. Then turning to David, he continued, "That's why I want you to reflect on your actions from time to time. Think calmly whether your actions are earning you trust from others." And about hiring John, you see, he had the utmost trust of my good friend Morgan. Yes, he was the president of the company John previously worked for. In other words, John is here because his 10 years of hard work were properly recognized. Richard spoke on behalf of Morgan. My previous workplace wasn't like the current company, lacking even cleaning staff. So, I used to be the first to arrive at the office, cleaning and wiping everyone's desks. I was diligent and even took on the tedious tasks that veterans disliked. I was also a truly dependable person, well liked by both superiors and juniors. That's why I value John's 10 years of steady efforts. It has nothing to do with his educational background. Richard explained. I was holding back tears, deeply moved. Morgan had arranged my job transfer without my knowledge and had reported my work performance to Richard. I was touched by Morgan's kindness. And I was deeply happy that my modest and serious nature was valued so highly at the company. Meanwhile, David remained silent, still keeping his head down. It seemed Richard's words had hit him hard. Probably his criticism of my education was already an issue in the company. Richard had kept silent out of kindness, but David must have realized the gravity of the situation. After we left the conference room, David hesitantly said, "Can we go to the rooftop and talk?" I nodded silently and followed him. Upon reaching the rooftop, "I'm sorry for the disrespectful way I've treated you until now," David said and apologized profusely. "It's okay. Lift your head," I sincerely told him, but he insisted. "No, it's not okay. This isn't just about what happened today. Actually, I've been jealous of you since our school days," David confessed. Then he started talking honestly about his feelings. Despite being seen as a man who could do anything, he admitted that was far from the truth. His parents had a bad relationship, and his mother was obsessed with academic achievement. He grew up constantly scolded by his parents, both of whom worked. David reflected back. "That's why I always envied you during our school days. You had a mom, always smiling unconditionally, and the warm meals at your place." Raised in a very stern environment, which could be considered as educational abuse, David barely made it into his first choice university, only to burn out completely. He somewhat safely landed a job at a major corporation, but without any enthusiasm or hope for the future. At a reunion, hearing about how passionately I was immersed in my work really irked him. "I felt like I had no purpose in life, but you had dreams and goals. That made me jealous, and I started bragging about the one thing I could beat you at. Yes, my education. I'm such a petty man," David admitted and then fell silent. He looked like he was holding back tears. Hearing that, I also opened up. "I was always envious of you too. I really wanted to go to college and be like you, wealthy, smart, and cool, but I couldn't become someone that I am not. So I just tried to give my 100% in everything I do." We shared our honest feelings, and we unexpectedly found ourselves laughing together. That's right. If you keep on looking at people who seem to be doing better than you do, there is no end, and the grass is always greener on the other side. All we can do is try our best with what we have. After our confrontation, David gradually changed his work attitude. He lost his careless manner, bragged less, and eventually became a respected figure at work. He was always a smart man who was good at his job. He rapidly rose in the company and, a few years later, got promoted to the headquarters. I was genuinely happy for his success. By that time, David and I had mended our relationship to the point where we'd go out for drinks together. While celebrating his promotion, David, laughing, started saying, "Now that I can talk about it, it's because of you that I was able to succeed like this. Seeing how well regarded your work was motivated me to get serious." He shared this unexpected revelation. Apparently, our colleagues had been praising my work ethic. I was known for excellent communication skills and also for not repeating the same mistakes. And being consistently respectful to everyone, I was being considered as a person of integrity. Hearing this, David had reflected on his own approach to work. He had been perfect in completing his assigned tasks, but never considered making things easier for his colleagues. I was always self-centered. I learned to be considerate towards others, and that was because of you. I guess I had a narrow view of life. David, looking a bit embarrassed, thanked me for helping him learn valuable lessons. But I felt the same way. I respect the effort and change you made to earn everyone's trust. I said, feeling happy and finding myself drinking more beer. We have both grown and were thankful to share a drink together. A few years later, my hard work was recognized and I became the branch manager at another location. Now I'm leading dozens of employees and working hard every day. My father's health improved, and he's now actively working again. The new workplace is just a 2-hour drive from my parents' house, so it suits me fine at this moment. Within the last few years, I also found a reliable partner, and we just had a loving son. From now on, we will be living as a family of 3. All right, I'm going. Have a good day. I will see you later. I ask myself every morning before going to work, have I earned the trust of those I work with? Remembering Richard's words, I step forward brightly into each new day at my new workplace.